All right, so 4.6 notes. These are going to be the last notes before your quiz, okay? Okay, so using congruent triangles. So tell which triangles you can show are congruent in order to prove the statement. What postulate or theorem would you use? So typically when they say that, we're talking about side, 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 angle, side. Remember, we have 5 of them. Hypotenuse, leg, angle, side, angle, and angle, angle, side. Remember the ones that don't work would be angle, 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 and side, side, angle. Okay. So BC, they want to know if BC is congruent to AD. Well, in order for BC to be congruent to AD, since they have not marked that, they haven't told us that, we would have to prove that this triangle is congruent to this triangle. And then if I prove that those two triangles are congruent, that means that all parts on the two triangles are also then congruent. So I know this side is congruent to this side, this angle congruent to this angle, so, and this is 90. So we could use hypotenuse leg, but we don't know the hypotenuse. But we do know that this side is congruent to itself. So this one is side, angle, side. So what I would write is triangle ACD is congruent to triangle, match it up correctly, that would be C to A to B, by side, angle, side. Therefore, there's the shorthand symbol. BC is congruent to AD by what we call Cpctc. Okay, what does Cpctc stand for? Congruent parts of congruent triangles. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Corresponding parts, that would be AD and BC. Those are corresponding parts. Those are in the same place on the two triangles. So corresponding parts of congruent triangles, we prove that these two triangles are congruent. Those are also congruent. So because I've proven these two triangles are congruent, that makes all parts, including BC and AD, congruent to one another. Here, I have a side here. I have a 90-degree angle and another angle. So we can go angle, angle, side, or side, angle, angle. We call that angle, angle, side. So triangle STU to T is congruent to triangle STU to V by angle, angle, side. Therefore, angle TSU, this angle, is congruent to angle VSU by corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. All right, next one. This side with this side, this side with this side, and then this side is reflexive. So by side, 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 triangle A to B to D is congruent to triangle. I know I have to start at C. A to B is 2 markings to 3 markings. So if I'm starting at C, I need 2 markings to 3 markings. So that would be C to D to B. Therefore, angle ADB is congruent to angle CBD by corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. All right. Here we have this angle with this angle with this angle, and this side with this side. So that would be angle, angle, side, side, angle, angle. So angle, angle, side. Therefore, angle K to H to N is congruent to M to G to T. So K to H to N is congruent to M to G to T by Cpctc. This one, BD, they want us to prove that this guy is congruent to this guy, right? Well, we know this angle with this angle, this side with this side. And then this guy would have to be congruent to this guy because they are adding to 180, and these two angles are congruent. So those two angles would then be congruent. So that would be angle, side, angle. So then those two things are congruent by Cpctc. One more. B to C, they want us to prove B to C is congruent to A to T. We know this angle, we know this side and this angle. So going around in a circle, angle, angle, side, or side, angle, angle. Angle, angle, side would be the reason. Then they are congruent. Those parts are congruent by Cpctc. Okay, I want for you to pause me. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 proofs on the front and back, and I want you to do the proofs completely on your own. See how well you do. And then once you're done, I want for you to come back and see how you did. Okay? So, first one, AB is congruent to EB. I mark that in D and C, so that's my given. I would know that A to B to D, this guy is congruent to this guy because of vertical angles theorem. That makes this triangle congruent to this triangle by side angle angle or angle angle side. Therefore, this side would have to be congruent to this side, and that's where we put in that Cpctc. So I have proven that the triangles are congruent. Once you've proven that the triangles are congruent, you can then prove that the corresponding sides are also congruent. All right, next one. AB congruent to CD, they have that marked. Angle A to D to B and C to B to D are right angles, they have that marked. A to D to B are congruent. That's this definition of right angles. BD is congruent to itself. That's reflexive. POC. Now this triangle is congruent to this triangle. Now, they put this step in, guys, but we did not need to know that because this we can prove by hypotenuse leg. So those two triangles are congruent by hypotenuse leg. Therefore, D to A to B, this angle down here is congruent to this angle up here by Cpctc. All right, next one. SR is congruent to RP, and then this angle is congruent to this angle. Okay, that's my given. Something I know because of corresponding angles postulate. Well, this angle is congruent to this angle. They've already proven this, or sorry, this side is parallel to this side. Corresponding angles would be angles in the same parts. Here's my transversal. They're on the same parts. So that would be angle QRP is congruent to angle TSR. Now that I know that, I have an angle, side, angle. So that'd be angle, side, angle. Therefore, S to T is congruent to R to Q by corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. All right, one more, guys. Last Z to X is congruent to W to X, so those two things are congruent. Z to X bisects this angle right here. So if it bisects, it cuts it in half, so this piece is congruent to that piece. So that's all given. Y to X to Z is congruent to W to X to Z. That would be definition of angle bisector. So because that bisects that angle, it cuts into two congruent angles. X to Z is congruent to X to Z. So this thing is congruent. So now I have a side, I have an angle, and I have another side. So by side angle side, which they told me, I know that triangle YXZ is congruent to triangle WXZ. I have to put it down correctly in the correct order. Therefore, this piece would be congruent to this piece by Cpctc. Okay. So your homework after this section is actually a review of 4.1 to 4.6. It's a Schoology assignment, and that's what you will do next. All right, thanks, guys.